What is going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be sharing literally the worst tour experience I ever had in my entire life. This might even have led me to quit touring. Hey, real quick, before I jump into this video, if you're interested in private guitar instruction with yours truly online, my email is in the link in the description below. Just shoot me an email, state your case, and I will get back to you. The lesson slots do tend to fill up pretty quickly. If that happens, I also do have a waiting list, so I look forward to hearing from you. Also, don't forget to sign up for my free monthly newsletter, free written guitar lesson every month, as well as access to all of my tabs. Link in the description and pinned comment as well. I'm going to tell you the tour story that pretty much broke the camel's back for me. This was when I was in Nashville and I was touring with a decently successful band. I'm gonna leave their name out of the video. I did contemplate if I would actually say what band it was, but I would think I'm gonna just prefer to opt out of that for this video. And but they were a decently successful band. This band was what you would call a function band, meaning that a lot of the shows were cover shows, and then occasionally we would actually do original shows. We would put out, music videos. I think technically the singer had a record deal, that did not involve me or the rest of the band, but I think that was what she had going on, so that kind of is how they put out, original music under the band name. I did, get to write on quite a few of those songs. I was in a lot of the music videos, etc. But I'm going to leave that out. So this band, we would tour everywhere around the country, South, East Coast, Midwest, pretty much. As I've stated before, in Nashville, the touring is quite an interesting difference versus other places in the country that you might tour in because everything's so close. Nashville borders something like 9 different states, so if you want to get to pretty much any city you can fathom, it is probably within a 6-hour distance or less. Which makes it incredibly easy to, do the weekend warrior circuit, which is what everybody does for the most part in Nashville, which is pretty much where you leave on like a Thursday, go play, your string of shows until Sunday, and then come back and crash at your own house for 3 days out of the week, and then repeat all again. That is what we actually call real touring in Nashville, believe it or not. So unlike the scenario that you might have perceived where you're just living in a bus, for weeks on end. Those do exist as well, but those are more like actually, huge acts that do that kind of stuff that can afford the budget. That's why so many people that, maybe you haven't even heard of, but we kind of think of them as local legends in Nashville are able to actually still tour is because of the geographical proximity of the state itself, which is kind of an interesting fun fact. But at this time in my life, well, this is a two-header story here because it was kind of unbelievable that this happened actually on the same leg of tour. It was kind of doomed to fail from the beginning. So I'm going to talk about our time here in Biloxi, Mississippi. So I was already with this band at this point for about 3 years, coming up on at that point. And I was starting to get pretty burned out from touring in general. There had already been a lot of things that happened on the road beforehand that kind of wore me out. The pay wasn't great, although allegedly it was better than a lot of the other bands in town, but I still felt like I wasn't getting paid enough, so that was kind of wearing on me. And then on top of that, there was the sleep schedule started kind of killing me, to be honest with you. And keep in mind that my sleep schedule actually was adjusted for tour for years at that point, because when I lived in LA and was doing work out there, I also was pretty much constantly up till 4 a.m. every night, and it wasn't really a problem. But as I was getting, into my mid-20s, it started kind of feeling like it was taking a toll on me a little bit. So all those things kind of stacked up. People, didn't really get along as well as we used to, traveling, and everyone was kind of passive aggressive, and it just started not being a fun experience. But that wasn't enough to make me quit yet. So we had a show booked at a festival in Biloxi, Mississippi. I can't even remember. Actually, no, the promoter's name just came back to me as I'm thinking about it. Anyways, we're scheduled to play two shows, 2 nights in Biloxi, Mississippi at 2 different venues. So the first one is a festival. The second one is like this terrible dive bar, which we'll get to later in this video. This was supposed to be actually a very kind of nice show. Like, we were actually all looking forward to this. It was going to pay pretty good, like actually better than usual. And also on top of that, the promoters, were really nice guys for the most part, and they treated us really well. So we were actually looking forward to at least the first night for sure. The second night, not so much. But anyways, so as usual, as the Nashville schedule goes, we had to get up at about 2 o'clock in the morning and meet at the singer's house to pack the bus and then drive to Mississippi. That occurred at like 3 in the morning. So that was generally the schedule. That wasn't even that weird, actually, to like leave at 3 a.m. to try to get to a venue by, 12, afternoon to save on a hotel, believe it or not. And I guess that actually saved us like $300 apparently, so we could all get our fair pay. I kind of hated it and would just sleep in the bus. And to be honest, I didn't even care at that point. Everyone was mad at me for not driving, and I kind of just didn't care. But I would always make sure I got everyone on the way back, and I would pretty much drive like the whole way back home. But I had a hard time staying awake at those hours after loading a bus and like only really sleeping for like maybe 2 or 3 hours anyways, and then having to go play a show. It really took a lot out of me. And usually by the time we do these kinds of shows, and specifically on this day in particular, I remember vividly that the day just felt like it was going on forever. So we got up 3 a.m. We're leaving to go to Biloxi, Mississippi. Normal kind of travel day. I'm waking up, periodically as we're stopping just to get like food at the gas station, etc. And then I'm going to sleep. So then basically we finally get to Mississippi 8 hours later from Nashville by the beachfront. And we get to this magnificent stage that is actually quite huge. And it actually also borders a bunch of bars and restaurants on top of that, since it's an outside show and it's on the beach. So I'm like, all right, you know what? This is all right, for all the stuff we just had to go through this morning. Not too bad, actually. We kind of load all our gear on stage, and this is where the first issues started happening, because this particular venue had no green room. And for those that don't know what that is, maybe, the green room is just basically the designated room where the bands can hang out kind of away from people. So you don't have to, you can just have some time to yourself basically before you go on stage. That was non-existent at this festival. So basically our green room was the van. That's right, our bus broke down, so we took the drummer's van. I forgot about that. So we took the van, okay, and uncomfortable experience. That I forgot about that. But so our green room is the van. We've loaded all the gear on stage and backlined it. We're not wealthy enough, obviously, as a band to have roadies, so we are the roadies as well. And we backline all the gear. This is where the issues started kind of happening. This promoter was a super nice guy, but he also wanted to be everybody's buddy, like all the time. He just wanted to hang out with the bands and be cool. So his assertiveness skills in terms of basically being able to stick up for people when needed was kind of non-existent, meaning that when people would walk on stage, they would just have beer in hand, swishing around in the cups, almost spilling on my $2,000 pedal board, right? So, and he kept like inviting people on stage that weren't even, in the bands, basically. It was a really odd scenario because I guess, it was this whole like thank you thing at the festival, etc. He's like, we need to thank so-and-so, come up on stage. And then 5 people will come up with their drinks. Where's my pedal board? Right at the front of the stage. So eventually, I just went ahead and did the right thing, unplugged it, and moved it, right? And I'm thinking, whatever. I unplugged my amps too. I was like, I'm not even going to take this risk, while stuff's plugged in. I'm not going to let people spill their drinks, right? So after all that's going on midday, finally the bands actually start going on stage,
and playing, and they're starting to have some power issues on stage. Pretty, actually not really that rare of an occurrence, to be honest. All you got to do is call the right people to fix that, which would have been the power company that supplied the massive generators for the festival. So as there's, some slight power issues with some of the gear, etc., nothing's like hit haywire yet. It's just like, hey, we need to fix this probably before people go on stage because people aren't really getting the power that they need. So instead of the promoter calling the right people to fix this problem, he decides, and he probably had a few drinks at this point, although I don't know for sure. He kind of gave me that vibe, though, from my memory of this day. And he decides to walk over to the generator and just hit all the buttons. Doesn't know what they do, but just starts pressing buttons, turning it off, turning it on, etc. Well, the sound guy all of a sudden has no power now to his board. And this sound guy is a young guy, like me, actually. He's like probably early 20s as well. You could tell he was stressed out by this event because he kind of got sent there by himself. And all of a sudden, the sound guy is like freaking out. Like literally like screaming at everybody, cussing everybody out, cussing out the promoter, basically saying, hey man, you just power surged all my gear and now my console won't even turn on anymore, and you just blew, like literally like blew up my console. Like blew up all my equipment and all my amps just now. Pretty insane. So then the band walks on stage unaware of what just happened, also trying to get power to their amps. To which the lead guitar player of that band says, hey, my amp is making a really weird noise. It's like doing stuff I've never seen it do before. And he's got some expensive gear. He had a couple 5150s up there, and yeah, it was kind of crazy. Well, it turns out that the promoter just blew up everybody's gear, literally. And the only thing I was thinking in this time was like, man, did I just make a really good decision right before this happened? I literally, without even knowing this would happen, unplugged my stuff, as stated earlier, just because I thought people were going to spill drinks on it. Little had I known that the promoter was just going to go literally blow up everybody's equipment that day. So I was very thankful, at least for myself and my own gear, that none of my stuff was damaged because I left it unplugged. But to everybody else at the show, which would have been like 5 bands, had all of their gear completely actually ruined, to the point where everyone was trying to figure out how to file insurance claims with the promoter that day. Needless to say, this promoter had a business partner that his dad owned one of the casinos in Biloxi, which is actually where we were staying for free, which was kind of nice. And this promoter was like the main guy that actually funded the festival. And he didn't know what was going on. And no one told him because his partner, I guess, obviously wanted to figure out how to solve this before he had to disclose that kind of information, meaning that the show probably wouldn't end up happening. So unfortunately, as things were, transpiring, eventually somebody had to tell this man what was going on. And that pretty much came down to my singer being right next to him as this is happening, and she decided to tell him. So this guy literally, and understandably as well, 'cause I have to say this is one of the few times I've publicly seen a grown man cry, but this dude was like crying, okay? Like he was like, it was bad. Like he was like straight up like bawling, dude. And obviously understandable because this guy was about to be out a bunch of money, to be honest. Like, that was the main reason. And honestly, I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I would have to think if I was a promoter and I got word of this, I would probably be crying about how much money I just lost on this entire festival. Because we had to literally cancel the entire festival. Nobody played a single set. Actually, one band almost played a set. I think they played half a set before they had to cut it because of this issue. And the promoter in the contract still had to pay everybody. So my singer, all of a sudden, which I guess to some people hearing this, they might be like conflicted on how I felt about this at the time, but my singer basically told the promoter, no, you don't have to pay us. It's all good, you know? And I kind of chimed in at this moment. I'm like, look, I'm really sorry this happened, but I'm sorry. You still got to pay us, man. Like, we still drove 8 hours to get here, set up the gear, and acted as if everything was still going to happen. And this is obviously out of everyone's control. It's in the contract, and, you know, we got to get paid. And I told the singer that, too. I said, look, you know, I was kind of candid backstage away from everybody, so it wasn't like a big scene, but I was like, hey, look, you know, if we don't get paid, like, I'm gonna have to move on with my life, to be honest. Like, this is so insane to me. Like, I can't be out work this many days, and it's kind of one of those scenarios where, you know, you have no control, but you still got to get paid for your time, you know. And that's why we have those contracts that say you will pay us regardless. Obviously, our singer, you know, had so much sympathy in the moment that, you know, they were going to try to forego that. But, you know, understandably, on both ends, that was what was going on, you know. So for me, I was like, I got to get paid. We then proceed to pack up all our gear. We're getting awfully close to being up for 24 hours straight here. We're packing up all the gear back into the van. Everybody's tearing down the event. And I would say we got out of there at probably maybe 10 p.m. So we were up about almost 24 hours dealing with this. Finally got to the casino hotel and just crashed. So I'm thinking, wow. The next day I wake up, I'm like, wow, that was insane. Well, we have another gig tonight. So this is what made it even more insane. To not over-explain this video, but this was even more insane because it happened the very next day. So we were supposed to play this venue. And you know what? I'm probably just going to leave the name out of this venue, honestly. I don't need the smoke. This is in Biloxi, Mississippi. It's a dive bar. And keep in mind, a lot of the venues in the South are also smoking rooms. So you can light up cigarettes in there, no problem. It pretty much takes me out, you know, to be honest. I feel like complete garbage usually after walking out of a smoking venue. Not judging anyone, you know. People smoke, you know, I get it. But for me personally, I really felt like absolute hell after getting out of smoking venues, I'm not going to lie. So that was always kind of a thing. Like when I had to play a smoking venue, I had to like mentally prepare for it because I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a rough night. Like getting out of here, you know. I'm going to be like huffing and puffing, loading this gear at the end of the night. So I'm thinking there's no way that tonight's show can be as bad as what happened yesterday. We set up all the gear, do sound check, etc. And we probably had like 200 people show up just for us because we were the only band. Literally showed up for us with the cover charge and everything at the door, which is our money for the night. That was our deal. Our split deal on that was we were going to get, I think, like 50% of the door on top of whatever pay we agreed on. So it was not a bad deal for this gig. We play 3 hours of all covers, typical set, you know, Sweet Child O' Mine, Don't Stop Believing. All the solos that I used to like fear of screwing up a single note because they were so iconic. I'm like, oh man, I was like, I better not mess up Sweet Child tonight because everyone's gonna know that I did. And sometimes that fear would actually make me hit the wrong note just because of overthinking it. But we play, you know, a good set. It's all good. And then all of a sudden, the singer comes to me as we're loading out the gear and says, the venue owner has decided to not pay us tonight. And I'm like, this is the same conversation. I'm like, well, okay, so would you like me to go in there? Because I'll just settle this right now, you know, if we need to go in there. Because I'm going to probably be walking out with like a TV, you know, or something so we can get paid, to be honest with you. You know, as shiesty as this sounds, like this was like literally what was going through my mind. I'm like, look, if they're not going to pay us, like I'm just going to have to grab one of their TVs or something and a couple other things and walk out so we could make our money, you know? And the singer of this band was very unhappy with my response to that. And just basically said, you know, I'll still pay you out of pocket and I'm just going to lose money on this show. But in the singer saying that to me, I could tell that was kind of like a sympathy card, like wanting me to forego my pay out of feeling bad for the situation, which I was not willing to do because of especially what happened the day before. So I'm like, dang, 2 nights in a row you're trying to like get out of getting paid or something. I'm like, I'm not into this. So I just straight up told the band, I'm like, look, I'm going to walk in and have a very candid conversation right now with the promoter and the venue owner here if they're not going to pay us, and just going to give them the scoop, you know. So they did not allow me to do this, basically, and told me that, you know, basically just said, you know, we're going to be hella pissed off if you go do that. So I'm like, all right, well, you got to get us paid then. So finally, after hours of negotiation, like literally we're there like an extra 2 hours, okay? The venue owner pays the money in cash. After claiming that she had no money, that they made 0 money off the show, even though there was 200 people at the show just for us that all paid the cover charge, literally had proof of all of it on a big checklist, and finally fessed up and paid us our money for the show. So that's all I cared about, right? Finally, when we got paid, I had a big epiphany moment in my life where I basically questioned if this was the trajectory that I wanted to continue my life path on, of doing these gigs and constantly debating whether I was going to even make money on what I was agreed to make money on. As much as I loved going down to the beach, hanging out in the nice hotels, sometimes getting the free food, this was kind of the pivotal moment for my life where I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore, and I'm not having fun. Moral of the story: stick up for yourself, especially if you're a musician. Get paid for your craft. You deserve it, as do all of the rest of us, frankly. And unfortunately, there's more of these venues out here than not that are willing to do you dirty. I wish I could say that was a rarity, but it kind of isn't these days. It seems like that's become more common. Know this: if you choose to play live, if you're very much into that, as I once was, just watch your back, stick up for yourself, and have a plan B for these kinds of situations. Like, I know my situation was kind of stupid in hindsight, where it's like, I'm going to walk out with your appliances to get my money back. But I don't know. You need plans to like figure out how you're going to get your money, you know, one way or another, unfortunately. But I'm also not advocating anyone does what I was going to do. Well, basically, I'll say this: whatever your plan B is, I don't condone it. How about that? I don't condone whatever you're trying to do as plan B, but you should probably think about having a plan B, whatever that looks like for you. With all that being said, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to sign up for the free monthly newsletter, and if you're interested in one-on-one online instruction with yours truly, I have a link in the description below with my email. Just email me, state your case, and I will get back to you. And if the slots are full, I will put you on the waiting list. So with that being said, greatly appreciate you watching this video. Leave a comment. What do you think about these double header stories here? And I will see you on the next one.